Hello from the beautiful Jamaica. My darlings, I am here today to give you today's video, which is why he acts right after you cut him off. Okay, so we're going to be talking about why a man suddenly has a personality transplant the minute you cut him off. And we're going to discuss a little bit more about that. So I will see you right after this. A few things that I have to mention and make very clear is that a man acting right after you've cut off, often it's like my friend says, one swallow don't a summer make, okay? He will act right after he cuts you off, or he dumps you and he comes back, or he's cold and you don't go chasing after him and he comes back and he has a little bit of a personality transplant. Now he's the dream boyfriend. I want you to know that that is not going to last, because guess what? As human beings, we always revert back to type, and that which is normal to us is what is familiar, and what is familiar is where we will always go, because what's familiar always feels safe. Make sense? So let's look at some of the reasons why he may be acting right after you cut him off. Now, a black swan doesn't want a man that has to be cut off to act right, because guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna constantly have to be cutting him off or threatening him with the idea or holding your heart in your chest. Listen, girls, these relationships may seem a bit fun, and yes, these are relationships that have a heck of a lot of chemistry. I mean, they're like dripping with chemistry. However, they are the most toxic relationships to be in, and relationships that you will regret entertaining long term. So we really have a high standard here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. We don't want to be the girls that have to wait for a man to behave himself, who, that has to threaten leaving or threaten walking away so that a man can figure out how to behave. No, that's not Black Swan. We want to give our time, attention, and our best selves to men who see what they want, know what they want, get what they want, keep what they want, and work hard to stay in the position of the chosen one. Okay, but anyway, let's go look into why they behave differently. Number one is the ego. Something is only valuable when we're losing it, or fear, or trying to get it, okay? So this is an egoic response. This is how we are naturally made as humans, is when we value the things that are leaving us, the things we can no longer have, and the things that are difficult to get. Right? So none of us here is waiting and hoping for an opportunity to drive the car you already drive. You already have it. We all want the car that we think is beyond us, something that we don't have, something that we might want more of, okay? So this is really an egoic response, because the true essence of our being knows how to recognize what is true, knows how to recognize what is ours. It doesn't need to kind of, dither. Our true self knows when we're in the right place, the right time, doing the right thing. We have to realize that in order for us to truly be with a man who is in his essence, we have to be in our essence. And a man who is truly in his essence is not really driven by the things he cannot have. He's driven by the things that hold value to him. He's motivated to keep and to get that which he sees as valuable, that which he sees as a long-term investment, that which he thinks will appreciate in value because it's already coming with so much value. Men of stature, men of integrity, the creme de la creme of males out here in the world, they navigate the world very differently from your low value, just want to get laid at any cost kind of guys that make up much of the dating space. So when we get to know the type of man that he is, if he comes back and he's acting right because, well, he lost you, or he just feels like he can't get you, so for that short term to get you back, he's acting right. The second reason he's acting right is an act of manipulation and control. Maybe he did too much. Maybe he cheated. Maybe he was rude. Maybe he was terribly controlling. Maybe he was abusive. And now he's coming to show you that he's a good boy. He's really, really a good boy. And that is a form of manipulation and control, because ultimately we know that people don't change by being dumped, right? We know that, don't we, Black Swans? Dumping a man doesn't make him act right. What makes a man act right is a decision to be a better version of himself based on the pain of being who he is. The idea that you can make a man behave right by kicking him to the curb is actually a fool's paradise. The truth of the matter is, you kick him to the curb, he might decide, okay, I might be able to get away with not doing that one thing, maybe for the next 3 months when she's sweet and nice, then I'll revert back to type. So a lot of it is manipulation and control. He wants to manipulate you into believing that there's a change, that things are better, he's a better man. But really, it's just another form of manipulation and a way of controlling you and the situation. We don't want that. The other thing is self-regulation. A lot of men and women have experienced abandonment trauma. A lot of us, these are like standard run-of-the-mill wounds that as human beings we share in common. At some point in our life, somebody we cared about deeply left, and our child self interpreted that as abandonment. And maybe they didn't physically leave, but they left us emotionally. Maybe they had an emotional crisis, and maybe they were the caregiver or the parent, and they lost their parent, and in that moment, in that season, we're not able to connect with us emotionally, so we made it about ourselves. But what ends up happening is we interpreted that behavior as love. You know, I am loved when there's an emotional distance. I'm loved when this person is about to leave me. And for some men, they feel really loved when they're yelled at and screamed at, and they're like women that are always dysregulated because their mothers were constantly dysregulated, and that's what they were programmed by their subconscious mind to believe is normal and natural. So the situation is that a lot of men need to go for therapy, and I really wish that there was more of a drive for men to go for therapy, to go for coaching, and women as well. I know as women we're more open to these things, and I am all about it, but if you have a man who has abandonment trauma and has never addressed it, you will be abandoned over and over and over and over again. These men think of conflict resolution as abandonment as a form of conflict resolution. That is their only conflict resolution skill. But they abandon you in order for them to regulate themselves, to prove to themselves that, well, I'm not worth loving anyway, so I'm going to jump before I'm pushed. And then they return back because now that they're pushed, they don't have somebody to continue the cycle of showing them what their actions do to her. So she's dysregulated, and he gets to experience love in that way from her. And then when he thinks he's done enough, like he did with his mama, he will then jump. And so what I found with a few of my clients is they meet these amazing men that perform at high levels, take them out, date them, do all these things, and start to pull away, start to do some, dysregulating stuff. And then when they think that she's kind of had enough of his nonsense, they dump her. And this is a cycle, and this is a horrible, terrible cycle to get caught up in. So if he does come back after abandoning you or you walking away, often that is just his self-regulation pattern. He does it with all his exes. These men don't actually know how to be in a consistent relationship with a woman. They don't know how to be the calm. A lot of these are the men online saying, I want her to be my peace. She's gotta be my peace, which is obviously, men operating at a very low consciousness. No one is assigned the role of being anybody's peace. What we can be is containers of peace, and we can create peaceful environments that peaceful people can coexist with us in. And really, what I know that they're trying to say is that, some are trying to say that they want somebody who can maintain the peace that they've created for themselves. But by and large, we do have a community of men who actually believe that it's a woman's job to regulate them, to come into their lives and bring peace. And that often translates to, don't communicate your needs to me. Do not call me up when I am being disrespectful. Do not mention my faults or my flaws. Do not correct me, because I'm going to see all of that as war. And so, we have to realize that these are all protocols that happen when you're dealing with a low value, low status, low self-worth man. And again, we know that on this channel, low value, low status, low self-worth has nothing to do with the amount of money in a man's pocket, but to do with the depth of his character and his willingness to be a better man every day. Because we know that men who invest in their character will never be broke. It's impossible for a man who is disciplined, focused, always bettering himself to have financial issues. So we don't need to define this as that. Sometimes they come back because they regret leaving. They regret leaving because they haven't found better. You know, they kind of thought, F off, you know, for whatever reason, she's not as cute as I wanted to be, as compliant as I wanted to be, as cooperative as I wanted to be, or whatever lingo men are being taught out here in this space. And they decide that, well, because she is so lacking as a human being, I'm gonna go find better. And they find that better just cannot be found, because let me just say something, ladies. Whenever you date a black swan, you will never be able to replace her. You just can't. We are unique beings. We're women who are on a self-improvement, self-love journey that just means that we show up effervescent, ladylike, beautiful, kind. Oh, we're just the full package, aren't we? Black swans are elite women. And so of course he's not going to be able to replace you. So he'll come back because he regrets it. But here's the thing, you're not really the one he wanted. You know, being with a good thing, and this is a hard thing for us to learn, black swans, it's a hard thing for us to learn. But work with me here. Being a wonderful woman doesn't mean that you're his woman. And a man can recognize that you're a wonderful woman, but not feel that deep connection to you, not feel an energetic vibration that is, you are vibrating in the same frequency with him. He can just recognize that you're a great and wonderful woman, but not see himself with you for life. And that could be for a million and one reasons. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's low value, it just means that he wants something different. But whatever the case is, if a man had to leave in the first place, this is a massive red flag, because he just regrets losing a good thing. He doesn't regret losing his dream girl. So ladies, we need to create a culture within our space where we just don't tolerate being second best, even if we're being chosen for first place. Make sense?
Simple steps to join Black Swan community. Download the Black Swan app from either Google Play Store or Apple Store. Launch the app and tap on register. Put in your valid information, then tap on continue. Put in the verification code sent to your email to authenticate your account. Then log into your account. Be sure to accept all permissions displayed at installation stage to enjoy all the cool features in the app. You can now enjoy a community of high-value women with support from coaches and trainers. Book calls with coaches, chat, post, and interact with the community. Enjoy!
The next thing is guilt. Maybe he did too much and he feels he owes you. Now, guilt is rare. Many men are not taught to necessarily have a conscience. Many men don't operate with a conscience. Many men are hunters, and when we're hunting, the rules of the jungle are quite brutal. So very rarely does a man feel guilty for what he did. You know, often there's always a red pill space or manosphere space where there's some lunatic who's encouraging them to have been a prick, and well, the women are weird. So there's always a place and a space for fools to hide out. And so very rarely does a man sit down and really think, okay, what I did was bad. Very rarely. And if they do, often it's many, many years later. Very rarely is it in that moment that they do that. But even then, you do not want to be in a relationship with somebody who is with you because they felt guilty for what they did and they're trying to make amends. Because that is not a foundation upon which we can build anything, because, well, they're going to do the same thing. And even if they don't do the same thing, that relationship is not based on a foundation of knowing that you are the person that meets their needs and that there is mutual respect. The next thing is true realization. Distance and space, looking at the painting from a distance. Now, this is what we all hope is happening. So I put it in there because I don't want us to be all negative all the way and feel like, well, you know, so do they ever come back for any good reasons? Sometimes men do come back for good reasons. Sometimes they come back because they've had the ability to see something at a distance and maybe they were too close to it to see its value. It happens to us all the time. When I was younger, I used to love going to the art gallery after school. It was my favorite thing to do, and it was on the way to the bus stop. So I would always take that path and go into the gallery. It was free, and I could see beautiful art and beautiful painting and beautiful sculptures. And I remember one day sort of looking at something and not quite understanding what it was. And no one has sort of taught me that you have to look at art close and you've got to look at art far away. So here I was really looking, and the painting was here, and I couldn't understand what it was. And I remember feeling like, okay, take a step back, take another step back, take another step back, okay, a little bit further back. And when I did that, I saw the beautiful painting in the collage of colors, and in this, what seemed like mayhem was a beautiful face, you know, painted in different, it was just amazing, it was mesmerizing. And I realized that sometimes we have to take a few steps back, and this can happen too. A man can act differently when he has really had an opportunity to step right back, to be away from you, away from the circumstance, away from the situation, away from it all, especially if you're a kind of woman that doesn't go chasing. If you didn't go chasing after him, if you didn't go running after him, and you kind of just let him be and let him go like a black swan does, and did further work on yourself without being silly and posting sexy pictures of yourself online. We don't need to do any of that. You know, you just continued with your good life. You came back, you worked on yourself, you did more work on yourself. And by the way, we shall be working on ourselves until we die. And that is a good thing, because it just means we get better and better and better. And in that time, he gets to really see you. Maybe his situation and circumstances was marring his view. Maybe he got too emotionally entangled. Maybe, he fell too hard, too fast, too soon, whatever. I know that we're all hoping that is the case. It's rarely ever the case. Very, very rarely. But now, sometimes it is the case. He's just had an epiphany. He's just had a moment of, wow, okay, I didn't see how beautiful and how kind and how thoughtful you were. I was so caught up in me and my world and what I wanted. And so at this point, what you will see about this man is a deep sense of humility, a willingness to do what it takes. This man is not going to come back and start playing games again. This man is going to be willing to meet you at, of course, the highest standard that you've set, because whatever standard you set before wasn't high enough, clearly. Hello. If you set enough of a high standard, he would have probably left earlier or whatever. So at this point, you've been working on yourself, and so the standard to be with you is way higher. And this man is ready to climb the mountains and swim the oceans to be with you. And you have to give it time and really make him work hard to prove that, well, he really wouldn't do all of that if he wasn't committed and trying. At the end of the day, there are many couples out here who are enjoying life together as second chances. But it's so important that we understand why this is the case. The last, but absolutely not least, is sexual stability. Men, every single one of them need to secure their sexual stability. And sometimes by leaving and going away, they realize that hunting for sex is actually problematic. They have to be out all day spending so much money, and you were the sitting duck that was happy to entertain, and you were the sitting duck that would take the crap in the past. And so they think, well, I don't want her, I don't like her, she's not really my type, I'm waiting for better. But I know that with her, she will always let me have that good. And I just need to go there, tell her what she needs to hear, and jump into her knickers. So ladies, these are some of the reasons that the men come back and behave right and behave like good boys. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be deceived, because relationships are an issue of longevity. They go on a while. We want to make sure that when they do, we are really serving both our best interests. So we're in no hurry in the situation. We don't want to jump into the next promise. We want to really take our time, really examine this man. And I would even suggest couples therapy. I've had a lot of clients who have had a conversation with the guys that left them and suggested, well, let's do therapy because I can't trust you otherwise. And that's always a good idea, especially if he agrees to it. It means that he is genuinely interested in working on himself. So both of you can go for couples coaching, couples counseling, and of course you can come to us here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy, where we'll be more than happy to facilitate you and help you through your love journey. All you have to do is, of course, download the Black Swan app and book a coaching call, or go to our website at blackswanrelationshipacademy.com and book a discovery call. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. In the meantime, do take care of you. Love you lots. Bye. Well done for coming to the end of this video. What I want to ask you is, what have you learned? What is your takeaway? And what are you going to start practicing right away? Those three things are how you are going to get the best out of every class here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. Please put it in the comments so that we can all have a look. So I can have a look, the coaches can have a look, and I promise you, we read every comment. We may not be able to reply to every comment, but we read all of your comments and we want to see how you are growing. And we will see you on the next video.